For more news, visit youtube.com/pigmine5.
This is Ozzy Skateboard, and you're listening to UCY.tv.
We came to fight the corporate state against all forms of control. We retaliate. We're not asking questions, we're making demands. Get out of my way, get off of my land. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna watch them burn. Down to the ground. Free the nearby and the Cleveland Bowl. Jeremy Hammond and all prisoners of this social war. Rest in peace, Aaron Swartz. We came to block your authority. We don't want to be an institutional commodity. We recognize the cracks in your facade. We don't believe in your patriarchal God. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be a political prisoner. I wanna free all humanity. I don't wanna be another fucking prisoner. Amnesty is an inherently defeatist position to take, one that's contingent upon surrender in order for prisoners of war to be released.
Alrighty, folks. Good evening on this Monday, the 24th day of February 2014. You are listening to UCY.tv. This is the Liberty Battles radio show, and I am your host, Alex Allen. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening, folks. I really do appreciate it. As always, we come at you live here on the Liberty Battles radio show. We are live every Monday and Friday at the same time, 9 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. Again, right here on UCY and only here on UCY. Also here recently, I've been doing a video recording along with the show, and I am, if I go through the show and if I find any significant clips or anything that I think was important from the show, what I'm doing is I'm taking those clips out and, splitting it up into little, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4 or 5-minute clips and, putting them up on the old YouTube. So I'd encourage you to go, subscribe to my YouTube channel over at the Liberty Battles Independent Media Network. That's the name of the YouTube channel. Again, that is the Liberty Battles Independent Media Network on YouTube. YouTube.com/user/Liberty Battles. That is the URL that you can go to. And I'd also encourage you to check out all my social media. You can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/Liberty Battles. I'd also encourage you to check out the Alternative Journalism Facebook page at facebook.com/Alternative Journalism. I also admin on that page and post a lot of my content over there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter at @Allen845 and at Liberty Battles. Those are my two Twitter accounts. The Allen845 account is more of my personal account, and then the Liberty Battles account is more of my sort of news account where I tweet out news articles and videos and that sort of thing from myself and from other sources of news. And encourage you to follow both of those accounts. If you don't know, I am a freelance writer, independent writer, whatever you want to call it. I write news articles and op-ed pieces for digitaljournal.com, although I haven't written any in a little while. I do write articles for that website. I also write for the antimedia.org occasionally. I'll post some articles over there. And I have my own sort of site. It's sort of a blog at this point, but it's developing into a site. It is newculturalnarrative.blogspot.com. newculturalnarrative.com. Again, that is newculturalnarrative.blogspot.com. It's called The New Cultural Narrative. And that is soon to be without the blogspot part. That's gonna be, I'm gonna take out the subdomain. I'm actually gonna register an actual domain. I'm working on doing that in the coming days, weeks. So before too long, I will hopefully have that registered, and it will be an actual .com domain instead of the blogspot part. And again, it's at this point, it's sort of just a blog, but it's slowly but surely developing into a full-scale news website. I've got a couple of people who are already interested in writing and contributing to the site, and so I'm going to have some more writers coming on, writing on all sorts of different subjects, all sorts of different topics, and yeah, it's not completely done yet, but there is some interesting content. In fact, I just wrote an article over there yesterday over the new Arizona. There's a new Arizona bill that is being proposed that people are saying, oh, this is discriminating against gays, and it's a big controversy. I wrote an opinion piece over there on that subject yesterday. I'd encourage you to go check that out. And I'm currently working on another piece or two for it that is going to be coming up in the next couple of days. And I believe that's all my promotionals. I believe that's pretty much everything I want to get through in that regard. So with that being said, welcome to the show, folks, and thank you so much once again for tuning in. Once again, it is Monday, the 24th day of February 2014, and since it is Monday, you know what that means. Here on the Liberty Battles radio show, it is Gun Talk Night. That's right, it is Gun Talk Night. Every Monday, if you don't already know this, we do a gun show. We talk about the firearms industry and all that entails. Anything gun related, really. And guns in culture, how guns affect our culture, gun politics, gun control news, gun just anything related to guns, anything related to the old firearms. We go over here on the Monday show, and as usual, I have several articles. Of course, if you're not necessarily a gun fan, if you're not a fanatic like I am, if you're not really interested in that, I'd still encourage you to tune back into our Friday show, which is at the same time. But on the Friday show, we talk about a wider variety of topics. I cover different news articles and different stories. A lot of the stories that I've written, a lot of the articles that I've written, and I cover a lot of different political topics, a lot of different cultural topics, and it's not just guns on Friday. But this is tonight just a gun show, and boy, do I have a lot to talk about. I read an article today that really pissed me off. It was a really anti-gun article from the LA Times, and it just really ticked me off. It was one of those articles that I don't know if anyone out there has had a similar experience. I'm sure you have if you're passionate about anything. But you know, it was one of those pieces that I read it, and it just made me angry. And I'm usually a calm, collected person. I used to not be, but nowadays, I've started practicing meditation a lot, and I've started just really trying to change myself as a person. But I'm sort of more positive and less less angry all the time. But still, there will be an article occasionally or something that I see or hear or read that I disagree with so much, and it's so just ridiculous that it just makes me want to punch a hole through something. And this was one of those articles, but I am going to save talking about that and giving my views on that for the end of the show, because I know if I get started ranting now, because I know I am going to rant when I start talking about this article, because that's how much it ticks me off. But I know if I start now, I won't stop. I'll keep ranting for the rest of the show, and the whole show will get away from me, and I won't get to any of these other interesting topics, any of this other interesting gun news or gun information that I would love to talk about this evening. So I'm gonna save the best for last, and just a fair warning, I likely will get sort of ranty at the end of the show this evening. I will get a little ranty. Now, before I get too far into the show, I I want to address something because I just saw this in the comments, and this is something that I was going to address anyway because I've been seeing this in the last couple of shows. I've been seeing this in the comments, and it kind of bugs me a little bit. I want to kind of address it. People are, saying, people are saying in the comments, oh, you don't need to be saying gun, use the word firearm. And this is something that bugs me because honestly, folks, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, I'm not a politically correct person at all. And I see words as just that. They're words, they're terms, whatever. And, I understand where some people are coming from and on the whole firearm issue, using firearms to the guy. I understand, but really, I mean, I'm not into that, sometimes I use them interchangeably, and sometimes I'll say gun, sometimes I'll say firearm, it just depends on which one slips out of my mouth, basically. So I hope no one's too offended by that. Again, I think being offended over something as little as that is kind of ridiculous anyway. But, hey, if you're offended by that, I apologize. So again, it's just a matter of which one slips out, gun, firearm, whatever. So that's my stance on that. I do understand though. I do understand, what you're trying to do there. Okay. So first of all, big win for the firearms community. Here, I'll try to do it. A big win for the firearms community here. Piers Morgan is getting canned by CNN. I'm sure most of you have heard this. And of course, gun enthusiasts are going berserk, getting real happy about this. I have to admit, I was super happy when I heard this news, last night. Piers Morgan getting canned. His show is canceled by CNN as of, they're saying as early as next month. It's going to be off the air, and boy, am I happy. When I first saw this news, the first thing that came to my mind, and I'm not even joking, this is actually the first thing that came to my mind, was that song, the, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey hey, goodbye. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And I'm happy about it because it just shows that he is failing because he is terrible. And it just shows that people are not into authoritarianism. Regardless of how far we are down the rabbit hole and regardless of how, sort of blissfully ignorant, the public has been kept, regardless of all that, we still have a society at least where the majority of people are actually really against authoritarianism at its core, even if they can't see it in certain cases, but they can definitely see it in blatant cases like Piers Morgan. And I have to say, I don't like Piers Morgan at all. This should come as no surprise to you, but I mean, I just really, he is one of the people in this world. And again, that's another thing. I try not to get ticked off too much by people. Whatever, they're authoritarian scum, whatever. But Piers Morgan is an exceptional case for me. And, I do not like Piers Morgan. There's nothing about this guy that I like. I mean, he is just the front man of authoritarianism. He is the picture of authoritarianism. And just how he is, the way he presents himself, and I don't even have as much of a problem with some people who are anti-gun. There's some people who are actually legitimately anti-gun because they actually just believe that, gun control works. They actually have, they just have sort of a different perspective than I do, and they actually think gun control would work, and they actually support it because they are actually for, less violence. And I understand that, and while I vehemently disagree with those people, and I will try to counter them and try to reason with them. I can at least tolerate those people. I'm fine with those people. If you legitimately believe in gun control because you think it will actually help people, yeah, I'm okay with that. I'll try to persuade you to my side, but if you actually legitimately believe in it, that's okay. But Piers Morgan is he's just into this authoritarianism. He's getting off on the system. He's getting off on, oh yeah, I get to be a big front man here of the system, of the establishment. Ooh, I'm part of the establishment, he's so into authoritarianism, and you can look into the guy's eyes. This might sound corny, but really, you can look into Piers Morgan's eyes and just see the depths of how soulless he is, the depths of how just awful he is as a human being. He's lost as a human being. He has no humanity left. All he knows is authoritarianism and, ban the guns. That's all he knows. That's all the guy knows. But anyway, here, I'll just read you a little bit, for those who maybe haven't heard, which I'm sure most people have. But here's an article off of New York Daily News. Piers Morgan Live to be canceled by CNN as early as next month, network says. CNN is saying cheerio to Piers Morgan. The ratings hobbled news network will end the British host's primetime program as early as next month, CNN said Sunday. Morgan replaced Larry King in anchoring the 9 p.m. slot 3 years ago, but he suffered low viewership and at times pushed back over his views on American issues, especially his strong support of gun control. Oh, really? I never knew that Piers Morgan was for gun control. I never got that image. I mean, I never would have thought such a thing. He only brought it up on every show. I mean, the guy could be having a show about, he could be interviewing someone over a chair that they've invented. Oh, I've just invented this new chair. Oh, yeah, here, we're welcoming on this guy who's just invented a new chair. We're going to be talking about his new invention. Oh, by the way, we need to ban AR-15s, semi-automatic assault rifles, kill people. Okay, so we're going to be talking about this new chair. I mean, really, the guy would bring it up every time. And that is that is why I don't like Piers Morgan so much, because he had to bring it up every time. He was just a front man of the gun control, authoritarian gun control, agenda. Yeah, I mean, that's all he was. That's all he was there to do, is to prop up this whole AR-15s are bad. They are assault rifles. They kill people. Ban semi-automatic assault rifles. Ban magazines with more than 10 rounds. Ban it all. Get rid of the guns. And that is who he was. Again, it doesn't matter what he was talking about on his show. It doesn't matter who he was talking about on his show. Every person that I've seen Piers Morgan interview, and I've watched some Piers Morgan interviews, the ones that I can actually stand to get through without vomiting because of how terrible he is. Just as a person, he's terrible. But, the ones I've been able to tolerate getting through, just about every single interview that he's done with whoever. Again, he's done interviews with musicians, he's done interviews with politicians, he's done interviews with other hosts of other shows, he's done interviews with, countless people, actors and movie stars, and every time he brings up the thing, well, since Sandy Hook, a lot of people are saying that we should ban these AR-15 assault rifles. I've made my stance quite clear that I think we should ban these death weapons. What do you think about this? Every time. Every freaking time. It doesn't matter who he's talking about. But anyway, I think I'm going to get off onto, I was worried about, doing this other story from the LA Times first, because I was going to get off ranting about it, but now I think I'm going to get off ranting about Piers Morgan. But anyway, this article from New York Daily News goes on to talk about Piers Morgan's short little run there on the failing CNN network, and that's another thing. That's another thing. The CNN itself is just failing. It's horrible. I mean, if you look up the ratings for CNN has Nothing. CNN has nothing. And for a network that has nothing, Piers Morgan's show was the lowest rated show on the network. So, I mean, that shows you how awful and how much distaste the American people have for Piers Morgan. Nobody likes the guy. Everybody wants him to just leave. Everybody wants him out of our country. And, you know, and again, of course, if you know me, I'm not a big patriotic guy. Ooh, flag waving American, you know, this is America, this is our country. I'm not into that patriotism. You know, I'm more of an anarcho-capitalist, so I believe in, you know, just getting rid of the collective in general. But just as a general rule of thumb, most people just want Piers Morgan to fall off the face of the earth. I'm not going to say that most people want him dead, because, you know, I think most, I'm sure some people do, but, you know, most people like myself, I don't want him dead. You know, I'm not that mean. But I just wish he would fall off the face of the earth, because he's terrible. He's a despicable human being. He's a despicable excuse for a human being. You know, he has, like I said, he has no humanity left at all. But, you know, I mean, that's just that. That's the little thing about, Piers Morgan. Of course, they mentioned that he was a former British tabloid newspaper editor, and then he lost his job at the Daily Mirror because, they published a bunch of fake pictures of British troops abusing Iraqi prisoners, but published a bunch of fake pictures of that, so he got canned over there, and then he comes over to America to get on CNN, and then he starts spewing out his anti-AR-15 crap, and gets canned over there because he's the lowest rated show on a failing network, on a network that's failing anyway. I think CNN just needs to throw in the towel. Come on, just stop the charade. Stop pretending like you're a big important news network. I mean, we had this whole thing. I believe it was last year. I wrote an article over it for digitaljournal.com where two CNN anchors were in the same parking lot. I know a lot of people saw that they were in the same parking lot, but they were doing this satellite interview, a split-screen satellite interview, pretending like they were on, you know, the other side of the world, pretending like they were really doing this in-depth, you know, analysis. She's over here, the other person's over here. We're doing this really back and forth, in-depth satellite. But really, again, you know, you see the bus that's behind one of the anchors comes into frame in the other anchor. I mean, they're like 20 feet away in the same freaking parking lot. So anyway, that is, I mean, that just shows you. CNN is failing. It's terrible. It's awful. They just need to throw in the towel and stop pretending that they're a big, you know, big important news organization, because nobody watches them. Nobody cares about them. So, I don't even know why I'm talking about them. Let's shut up about it. Alright, I've got another, story, a gun-related story. Of course, I brought Piers Morgan up on the gun show because of his big anti-gun thing, and that's obviously why he got, that's one of the main reasons why he's getting fired, is because of his anti-gun, stance. But anyway, I've got a different, story on a different note here on, some gun control. Here's an article out of, off of guns.com by Chris Eager, off of guns.com. New Jersey bill compromise to cap magazines at 10 rounds, but allow shooters to stop for coffee. A deal has been made in the New Jersey legislature on two bills, a pro-gun control bill that would ban all magazines larger than 10 rounds, and a pro-gun bill that would allow gun owners, hunters, sportsmen, to stop on the way to the range or woods for food, emergencies, or other reasonable stops. Oh, they're so nice. At least they're letting, you know, gun owners, peaceful gun owners, stop for coffee. You know, at least they're letting them stop for emergencies. If they have to go pee, if they have to take a poop, you know, if they have to, you know, if they've cut their hand off or something and they have to stop the hospital, you know, if it's an emergency, you can stop. Anyway, the magazine limit bill, formerly titled A 2006, would limit magazine size to no more than 10 rounds and was introduced by Assemblyman Louis Greenwald, Democrat, in January. The same bill was submitted to the New Jersey Assembly and passed last year, but was defeated in the Senate when Senate President Steve Sweeney, Democrat, blocked it from a vote. However, this session, Sweeney has agreed to let the bill run its course in return for passage of a pro-gun bill that would allow shooters who are transiting from home to a shooting range to stop for quote-unquote reasonable deviations, which are currently not allowed. And they go on to say in the article, according to the measure, stops for collecting and discharging passengers, purchasing fuel, food and beverages, medicine or other supplies, use of a restroom, or contending with an emergency situation. And oh man, yeah, I mean, this is crazy. But so again, they're being nice here. They're at least letting the gun owners stop for coffee. At least you can stop for coffee. At least you can take a pee. And at least you can deal with an emergency situation. Oh, they're being so nice. Thank God we have the government to give us these wonderful rights. Is that right? Okay, so I want to not address the coffee situation so much, because that's obviously, we all know how ridiculous that is, right? Allowing them to stop and stop for coffee. But I want to address the 10-round magazine capacity issue here, because that is, that's of course a big, that's a big thing. A lot of your gun control advocates say, well, we don't want to ban the guns. Let's just reduce the capacity of the magazines so that people will be less likely to do these mass shootings. Well, here's the thing. Here is why, that is ridiculous. And I think most of us know this, but, this is why the gun control argument fails. This is why the gun control argument is just ridiculous. Because 10-round magazines, for one, we all know that someone who is going to, be involved in a massive shooting, someone who is going to shoot up a bunch of people at random, just because they feel like it, or just because they're on these psychotropic drugs that make them do this, just because of all of these things, we all know that these people are going to not pay attention to many laws. First of all, they're not paying attention to the law that says they can't murder people. That is a law. Big shocker there. So there's already a law in place that says they can't murder people. So they're already breaking a law. So who's to say that they're going to pay attention to the law that says they can't have a magazine that can hold more than 10 rounds? So obviously that's the biggest loophole here. That's the biggest, the biggest fallacy, the logical fallacy in this argument here. But another thing here is that even if they did listen to that, even if an active shooter did have, 10 rounds or less in a magazine, all you have to do, folks, I know this is very complicated math for all those Common Core loving, gun control supporting, authoritarians out there, but here's all you have to do. You take one magazine, and then you get the magazine that has 10 rounds, of course, and then you get another magazine that also has 10 rounds, and then you have 20 rounds. Okay? And all you got to do is on your firearm, regardless of what firearm it is, all you got to do is push your little magazine release button, and that old magazine will pop out when it's empty. And all you have to do is take that other magazine and pop it right in there, and then, you have 10 more rounds. So that's a total of how many? Let's count with me, folks. That's 10 plus 10. That equals 20. So again, folks, absolutely absurd. The idea that, 10 round limits on the magazines is going to somehow stop active shooters from shooting up a bunch of people. And, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And as someone mentioned in the comments, you know, if you need more than 10 rounds anyway, you're probably not a good shot. I mean, I feel confident, you know, with a firearm that holds 10 rounds or less. But I still don't think that we need to ban magazines, that hold more than 10 rounds. I mean, I feel confident. I have a Glock, a lot of you who've listened to this gun show before know that I'm a big fan of Glock, but I have a Glock Model 30, which is the compact 45 ACP, and it only holds 10 rounds. At max, it will only hold 10 rounds at max. So, but I carry it all the time because 10 rounds of 45 ACP. I mean, if I need more than 10 rounds of 45 ACP, really for any given situation, if I need more than 5 rounds of 45 ACP, I'm pretty well going to be screwed. You know, if you were in some sort of situation where you need more than 5 rounds of 45 ACP, you're going to be screwed. But again, you know, that being said, I always like to carry a spare mag anyway, just in case. And that is just a perfect example of the fact that you can always. There are always ways to get around this. You know, that there are always ways to get around all of these gun control measures, especially with the magazines. So that is one of the most ridiculous arguments on part of the, you know, on the part of the gun control advocates. So anyway, but they've, I mean, they've already got a limit on magazines in the state. The current limit is 15. The current limit is 15 rounds, which is just, I mean, it's ridiculous. So you can have a Glock Model 22 in 40 cal that holds 15 rounds of 40 cal, but you can not have a Glock 17 in 9mm that holds 17 rounds of 9mm. So you get 2 more rounds there, but you get more power with the 40. So, I mean, gun control advocates don't know anything about guns. They don't know anything about, you know, common sense when it comes to the whole situation. But anyway, that is that, folks. And of course, again, going back to the whole coffee thing, again, isn't it so great? Isn't it so wonderful? Isn't it so fantastic that we do have our overlords in the government to tell us that we can stop for coffee, or that the people in New Jersey can stop for coffee if they want to, or that they can stop for an emergency, which currently is not allowed. But they've got your best interest at heart, and they're gonna let you stop for coffee, and they just love you so much, and they're the loving, beautiful government. But you can't have a magazine with more than rounds, though. You can't have a magazine with more than 10 rounds, but you can take the gun that has the magazine with less than 10 rounds, and you can stop for coffee. So they're giving you that. Hey, I mean, I'm suckered in already. I mean, if they're gonna let me stop for coffee, hey, you know, just take all my guns, right? So, God. Land of the free, isn't it, folks? Land of the free. Well, anyway, I want to get into a little bit of gun industry news here. This is just an interesting little blurb I want to point out here, before I get into my biggest thing, which is the LA Times article I was talking about at the beginning of the show. And, that is going to be oh man, just something that really pissed me off, and it's probably going to take up the rest of the show because I'm going to be ranting about it. But anyway, I want to first, go over some of this, industry news. We got, new nickel and stainless 1911s from SIG in 45 ACP and 40 Smith & Wesson now shipping. This is an article from guns.com again. Sig Sauer is shipping 2 new models of 1911 type pistols that were announced earlier this year at the SHOT Show, the Nickel Rail 1911 and the Stainless Match Elite 1911. While the Nickel Rail is a modern take on the timeless 45 ACP design, the new model Stainless Match Elite 1911 is chambered for 40 Smith & Wesson. The Nickel Rail 1911 is one of 2 in a series of fighting 45s with a rail less compact model to follow. Likewise, the stainless Match Elite 1911 is the first in a series. The new 1911 is traditional series pistol that SIG will also offer in 9mm Parabellum and 38 Super in addition to 40 Smith & Wesson for competition shooting or fun at the range for less than it costs to run a 45, at least in 9mm or 40. So that is so that's kind of interesting, coming out with these new 40 cal 9mm 38 Super 1911s. Now there are some sort of 1911 variants that have that are already chambered in certain calibers like that. Of course, the 38 Super 1911, as you will know if you know anything about the 1911, the 38 Super in the 1911 dates back, decades already. That's been around for decades. But 9mm and 40, two of the more popular semi-auto popular semi-auto pistol rounds today, they're going to be offering in that. And there are some, the Springfield EMPs. Those are semi-new. I think they just came out a couple of years ago, maybe last year. I don't remember, but, the Springfield EMPs, they're very small 1911, sort of 1911-ish pistols that have that are chambered in 40 and 9, and I wouldn't mind having one myself, actually, if they weren't so darn expensive. They're well over $1,000. I'm not sure. I haven't checked on the price on these SIGs. Maybe it says somewhere in the article. Maybe I should actually look at the article. Yeah. Of course, it's going to be kind of expensive. It says right here in the article, even on the new SIGs, the yet to be released nickel compact does not have a list price yet, but we know the MSRP for the nickel rail is $1,185 and $1,213 for the stainless Match Elite. Expect the nickel compact will be right in there as well, with real world prices likely in the $950 to $1,050 range. So, for some of these cool, customized, super duper awesome 1911s, you are going to be paying out the butt. And, but if I could afford it, I honestly say I would have one. I would have one of these new SIGs probably. And I would definitely have one of those Springfield EMPs I was just talking about, probably in 40. That's some interesting gun news. Always interesting new products coming out, and always some interesting stuff going on in the world of guns. And in fact, I want to bring up something. I was going to bring this up at the beginning of the show, and since this is the gun show, I talk about guns. Before I get into my big rant that I know I'm going to get into on this LA Times article, I want to bring up, I bought you might remember me talking on last week's gun show, where I bought a new Glock. I bought a Glock Model 23. It was a flat dark earth, Model 23 Generation 3. And I'm kind of pissed, to say the least. So I got it home, and the first day, I didn't have any problems out of it. It's a great shooter, out of the box. It has an awesome trigger out of the box for it has an awesome trigger out of the box for an out of the box Glock, and, which a lot of Glocks, you can soup them up and make them a little better, and you can get, triggers, like the 2.5 pound and the ghost triggers and stuff like that. So, you can put different triggers in, Glocks to make them better, but out of the box, this was a great trigger, and it was really solid gun, really solid shooting gun, smooth shooting for a 40 cal. And I was really overall happy with it, and, I was getting great groups with it, shooting it well. Then, just the day before yesterday, I, went out and shot it, and I had a failure to feed. Now, if you know anything about Glocks, you'll know this is not supposed to happen. I mean, they sort of make their whole marketing, off of perfection. Yeah, so it jammed, and I didn't think too much of it. I thought, okay, well, it's new. Maybe I just need to shoot a little more. It was probably just a little fluke. Probably not going to happen again. Well, it happened again on the next magazine that I was shooting. And so needless to say, I was really pissed after that. I shot some different ammo. I tried some different ammo through it. I tried some different mags. I was shooting through one magazine, and in particular, I thought, okay, maybe it's just a faulty magazine. So I put my other magazine that came with the gun in, and I was shooting through that, and that one didn't work. It was still doing the same thing, and I had a spare recoil spring for a 19 and a 23, and I put that in there, and the new recoil spring didn't work. I thought it was going to at first, because I got through several rounds without having a malfunction, but then it started malfunctioning again. And again, I've tried all types of different ammo through it. I've tried, hollow points and FMJs. I've tried different brands. I tried some Fiachi. I tried some Winchesters. I tried some PMCs. I tried all kinds of some lower grade stuff, some higher grade stuff, and it's just all jamming. And I don't know what the deal is. And everything I've read, and everybody keeps telling me, they say, "Oh, you're limp wristing it. You're limp wristing it." And I just don't know. I've been shooting for a while, and I usually tend to hold on to my guns pretty well. And, I have I know how to shoot. Maybe I'm just not used to it. Maybe I am limp wristing it a little. I don't know. But at this point in time, I'm kind of disappointed that it is jamming and having failures to feed. But I also know, the compact 40 cal Glocks. I've never had a compact 40 cal Glock. I've never had a 23 or a 27. And everybody does say, they are kind of finicky. So I'll have to see. I'll give you an update on that. How's that? I'll get through, some more rounds, try to fire some more rounds through it and, see how it does. But that is, I'm still a Glock fan, because I have several other Glocks in other calibers, and, I'm completely happy with that. With the 40 cal round, a lot of times you're looking at sort of finicky but so, I have a Glock 19 that's the exact same thing as the 23 that I just got, except it's, in 9mm. It's the exact same frame, exact same size gun and everything, as many of you will know if you know anything about Glocks, but, and I've never had a feed issue out of that at all. I've never had a single issue out of that Glock 19. I've never had an issue out of my 17. I've never had an issue out of my Model 30. I've never had an issue out of my Model 26 or my Model 34. This is the first model that I've had an error out of, but again, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what it is? I just wanted to share that with you, because I did have my first problem with a Glock, and it was sort of disappointing. Okay, now I got, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and address this here. This LA Times article. Now, again, as I was saying at the beginning of the show, I read this article today from the LA Times. And don't ask me where I found it, because I found a random link to it. I can't even remember where I found it, but it is an article from the LA Times. It's an opinion piece, and I don't guess it's really an opinion piece. It's sort of presenting as being news. It's presented as being factual, but clear bias here, obviously. And I want to get into that. But again, this was one of those articles that I read. Of course, it is a pro-gun control argument. And it was one of those articles that I read, and that regardless of me being sort of cool-headed most of the times, I've learned to deal with stuff and political stuff and world affairs and things that happen, and, just things that happen in everyday life too, don't tend to piss me off as much as they used to. I used to be more of a more easier to piss off. But this one definitely pissed me off, and I could literally feel my blood boiling. I was mad after reading this. It's just one of those things that I read it and I thought, oh my God, these people are such idiots. They're such authoritarians, and I can't stand it because I saw what they were doing. I saw how they were manipulating the facts and manipulating the statistics and pulling out their BS statistics, and I just couldn't take it. I really honestly felt like running my fist through something. I'm sure people have had this, before. I'm sure people are familiar with this, if you're passionate about anything. It's just one of those things where I see something or I hear something that I just know is a bunch of BS and I disagree with it so much I just want to run my fist through something. But here's the headline of this article from the LA Times. For women, guns in the home prove especially deadly. Okay, first of all, great headline. Good God. Okay. So let's get into this article. Okay, I'm intrigued now. I've already read this headline. For women, guns in the home prove especially deadly. Oh my God, how are guns, being deadly for women in the household? Let's read this article to find out more. So I get into the article, and let's just read a little bit of this live on air, shall we? So much for the argument that a gun in the house makes you safer, and it's especially not true for women. That's the first line of the article. Okay, so first of all, we have the headline that says, for women, guns in the home prove especially deadly. Okay. Then we have the next line. So much for the argument that a gun in the house makes you safer, and it's especially not true for women. Okay, so we already have some pretty biased headlines coming at us. Atlantic Cities has a roundup piece Monday of recent studies of gun ownership and violence. It concludes that women living in homes, now listen to this, it concludes that women living in homes in which guns are present are at much higher risk of being shot, most often by a spouse or partner. I will read that again, and let me see if anyone can find the logical BS in this that I see. It concludes that women living in homes in which guns are present are at a much higher risk of being shot, most often by a spouse or partner. No shit, Sherlock. Good God. I mean, if this isn't the most pathetic little factoid reason for gun control, if this isn't the most pathetic little factoid, it concludes that women living in homes in which guns are present are at much higher risk of being shot, most often by a spouse or partner. Okay, so here's the situation we have here right now. If people are in homes that have guns, we're taking into account the people who are at risk of being shot. We're taking into account all the people who have guns in their home. So women, it concludes, who have guns in the home are more likely to be shot than women who don't have guns in the home. They're more likely to be shot by their spouse than women who don't have guns in the home. Well, yeah. Yeah. No shit. No shit, Sherlock. I mean, yes. Of course. If you have a gun in the house, you are going to be more at risk of being shot by your oh God, and it's not that you're at risk. That's the problem. They're taking a statistic that is just obvious, that is just freaking obvious here. Women who have guns in the home are more likely to be shot by their husband than women who don't have guns in the home. Well, obviously, Because if you don't have a gun in the home, you're not going to be shot by it. I mean, I just don't get what they're trying to prove here. I don't get what they're trying to prove here. I mean, they're proving nothing. And of course, they're leaving out the bigger picture. They're taking this little factoid. And blowing it up as if this is the central thesis, as if this is the central point here. But they're missing out on the bigger picture. And of course they're not missing out on that. They know. But they're blowing this up for the general public so the general public buys into this. The bigger picture is they're not taking into account all of the people that have guns in their home. Okay? All of the people, you take all of the homes in America in which there are guns, and then you take the percentage of that, of women who are actually being shot by their husbands, and it's minuscule. You know, it's minuscule. A very low percentage of people who have guns in their home get shot by their husband with it. I would assume it would be low. But of course, when they compare to ridiculous statistics like people who have guns in their home as opposed to people who don't have guns in their homes getting shot, well, obviously, if there's a gun in the house, that's going to bring that statistic up, because that's just a variable, an obvious variable in that equation. I just don't know how to make this any clearer. They're missing out on the picture that it's a low percentage of the overall gun owners, but they're blowing it up as, oh, this is bad, we need to ban guns, because if you have a gun in the house, you're more likely to be shot with it, according to these statistics. Again, I don't know where to go with this. This is so stupid. This is so stupid. This little factoid that they have brought up to try to make a legitimate argument for gun control. And it's not. It's not. Now, if we had a statistic that said at ridiculous rates like 90% of the gun owners in America, or even 65% of all gun owners in America are getting shot. You know, 65% of the women in America who have guns in their home are getting shot by their husbands. Now, that would be an interesting statistic. That would be an interesting statistic that I would look at and actually seriously consider, okay, maybe that could be a legitimate argument for gun control. But no, that's not the statistic at all. That is the absolute, I mean, I just don't know. I just do not know where to go with this. I hope people are on the page with me and people can see what I'm saying. That obviously, you know, I'd like you to chime in the comments. We've only got a few minutes left, but I'd like you to chime in the comments and just see if you're on the page with me here on what I'm saying here. Obviously, when you compare the two statistics of women with guns in their homes compared to women who don't have guns in their homes, obviously the statistic of those women getting shot as opposed to one another by their husbands, obviously the statistic for women who do have guns in their home, that's gonna be higher because they have guns in their homes as opposed to the women who don't have guns in their homes and the husband doesn't have access to them to shoot the woman. Obviously that's gonna be the case, but on the wider scale of things, the actual percentage of these things happening compared to all of the gun owners in America is pointless. It's It's irrelevant. That's what I'm saying. That they're comparing these two statistics that are meaningless in order to blow it up and distort it and sensationalize it and push gun control. And that is why I don't rely on statistics. That is why I don't rely on all these bloated statistics that people spurt out all over the place, because they can be manipulated like this. Okay, I mean, you're comparing... I mean, people just do not understand the depth of this. And, you know, and the average person and the average American is not going to be smart enough to look into this and see that that's what's happening and, you know, see the logical fallacy in that. They're not going to be smart enough to do that. So they're going to just buy into it and say, oh my God, look at this. Women are getting killed a bunch by their husbands if they have guns in the house. We got to ban guns. And, you know, of course, the last paragraph pissed me off too. As I've written before, as a nation, and I could just picture this person. Just a pathetic, chicken-necked, you know, person, you know, a fake liberal, an authoritarian piece of scum, who gets off on control and authority and power, and who talks like this, as I've written before, as a nation, we seem to be consumed by this romanticized narrative of reaching for a gun to defend a home and hearth from a bad guy. The reality is an armed society is a dangerous society to itself above all others. Homicide, suicide, accidental shootings. Is that an acceptable social cost for the rights of gun enthusiasts to pursue a hobby? That was the last paragraph. And of course I read it like that because I know I just know this type of person, and I know that's how they speak, and it just pissed me off. It just pissed me off so much that they're blowing up these If you want to make a legitimate argument for gun control, fine. Do it. Make a legitimate argument for gun control to me. I will listen to you. I will reason with you. But don't blow up these BS statistics and try to tell me that this is a reason for that we should have gun control, because they're BS. And I'm going to point out that the statistics are BS and they make no freaking sense whatsoever. They make no freaking sense whatsoever. I mean, it's just absolutely... It blows my mind how people can't even make the logical connection because they're just passively reading it. Most people don't even read it. They just read the freaking headline and the first two words of the article. You know, all they see is, for women, guns in the home prove especially deadly. So much for the argument that guns in the house make you safer, and it's especially not true for women. That's all most people read in the article, and then they think, oh God, I'm sold. We need to ban guns now because women are getting killed by their husbands. God, I just don't know. I just don't know what else to say on this, and I told you I was probably going to get off on a rant here. But anyway, I mean, that's just it. Well, we're running quickly out of time here, folks. I want to thank all of you for tuning in this evening. It's been a good show. It's been an interesting show, and again, I encourage you to go check out my YouTube channel over at Liberty Battles Independent Media Network on YouTube. Again, that's Liberty Battles Independent Media Network. It's youtube.com/user/Liberty Battles. That's the URL. I'd also encourage you to check out my half blog, half turning into a news site-ish. It's sort of halfway through the process of becoming a news site, but right now it's more of just a blog, and it's going to be kind of unique, kind of different, but right now it's over at newculturalnarrative.blogspot.com. The blogspot part is soon to be gone as soon as I can purchase the domain. So go check that out. Go like me on Facebook as well at facebook.com/libertybattles. Follow me on Twitter at ALN845 and at Liberty Battles. And as always, thank you so much for listening this evening. And I don't hear my bumper music playing. Oh, there it comes. Well, anyway, thank you so much for listening this evening, and God bless all of you.